Hello, and welcome back to Alchemy with Sheeana Leigh. Today, we're going to dive right in and get really raw and real on the art of healing out loud. Now, I feel like this is so prominent in my life right now. So, for this episode, I'm going to drop into a few personal shares and a few stories that have really brought this up to the surface for me at this point in time because I feel like there is a little bit of a shifting within our collective now where we are not hiding as much and we're becoming more our authentic selves and true selves and not compartmentalizing little intricate pieces and parts of ourselves. And this is myself included. Right. I find that most oftentimes we shy away and we hide things that we deem are not acceptable or not positive or not deeply human to the world and to our friends. And we kind of go into this sense of shutdown or locking ourselves away until we feel better and are able to show the best parts of ourselves, per se. And I feel like that's really being shifted and changed as we speak because we're coming online more fully. We're starting to accept ourselves as like a real, raw human expression. And these parts of like grief and pockets of sadness and loss are just as acceptable and to be cherished as all of our so-called good parts and all of our happiness and joy. And as a matter of fact, I find that they have the potential to shift and change more powerfully and be transmuted in our being, in our body, when we are witnessed in the depths of our sadness and our pain and our grief and our loss and our muck. It has the ability, on a somatic level, like this, what they teach you in somatic therapy 101 is you actually don't have to force anything up and go into the thing. It naturally and organically, as soon as you bring awareness to it and the body sensations and the emotional sensations that you've got going on, just illuminating it and seeing it and speaking it out loud organically has the potential to shift and transmute within your body and being. And I feel like now is the time to really know that and understand that in your body that you are safe. You are able to show up in your sadness and grief and loss and heartache and still be accepted and celebrated and not have it be like a disempowering experience, but a powerful experience of, reclamation of self. And also, it's a gift for others, like to see you in that. It's a gift for them to allow others to hold you, to see you, to give them also permission to show up. And I think it's a beautiful way that we can, stop this incessant shame being riddled in our body because I absolutely believe that shutting down, compartmentalizing, not speaking on our healing journey and keeping it in the shadows and locked away and dark riddles the body with shame. It absolutely contorts the body to a place of shutdown and collapse. And shame breeds so much dis-ease within the body and within the system. It's absolutely shocking. And I find it so strange that on these big, monumental moments and transitions in life, we go into a place of not being held and completely shutting down and locking ourselves when that is the time we actually need to heal out loud, grieve out loud, allow others to show up, step up for us, hold us, and be in community. And I think it is an era that we're sort of moving back into, right, at this moment in time, because it's perfectly human and normal to grieve and have sadness and loss. It is a normal human life experience. So basically, the reason around this podcast this week is I did not drop a podcast last week. I was in my own sort of grief and heartache and loss as I lost my little animal furry friend Skittles, our cat. He was 11 years old, so not that old. It was very unexpected. And obviously, I've been moving through some massive transitions at this point in time as well, with preparing the house, clearing the house, getting rid of a lot of things, moving and selling, separating, like all of these things. And that was just like the tip of the iceberg for me. That was just like, boom, the thing that sort of knocked me over. And I kind of went into this sort of closed space of like, I can't show up. I can't let others sort of feel me and see me and hear me in this space. And it's quite interesting because, you know, allowing others to sort of hold me and see me in these big pockets of grief is actually such a gift for other people. People can see that I am a real human. One of the things I get mostly when I see clients and friends that I've made online and we've formed an intimate connection, we catch up in the real world and they're like, oh, you're just so human. You're just like a typical normal human. And I get it because like on social media, you tend to just show up especially in my business, I show up fully for my business and, you know, for that. But it just really, was an aha moment for me that, social media is social media, but a lot of people perceive only the best parts of ourselves. And that really is a disservice to other humans and their experience. And it leads them to compare themselves to you and what, the story is that you show up as. Like, we get into compartmentalization, we get into comparing ourselves, like, oh, she looks this certain way, or she only shows this, so must be what she is like. And it's totally not fucking true. It is such an illusion from social media and false idols and everything we've seen that I really just want to abolish. Like, I just kind of want to rip it all down and throw it away and be like, no, this is like my real, raw human heart moving through these icky, sometimes really hard, horrible things. And I'm okay in that. And I'm completely empowered in this. And I know that I can hold myself and somatically move through it and it'll be transformational. I've gotten myself to that caliber, absolutely. But I want to be able to like show up with like my aching heart in my hands and being like, oh yeah, this is happening for me and it's totally okay. And allow like my community to step up for me and show up for me. And we do it to ourselves, right? Like I do it to myself. I noticed a couple of weeks ago, it might have been a month ago, I was actually like through a very sort of like depressive episode and I was really like contorted in my body and I pulled myself away from everybody because I have this thing of being this great holder for so many. I hold a lot of things for a lot of other people at all times. And, I have this perception of myself that I need to be the bearer and the holder of everybody. And then when I'm the one that actually needs holding or love or a compassion or a kindness, I will shut down and like tend to my wounds in the dark and then come back out and be like radiating again. And I had this realization when I was speaking to a friend on the phone, that I'm always a strong one, I'm always this one, and it's quite vulnerable to show up and say, I've got this thing going on. And I realized the thing is, I don't want, and this is like a flavor that we have to lean into and learn. It's like, I don't want anyone to come along and save me, right? Like I am not disempowered in my wounds and my aches and my pain. Like I am a fully empowered, embodied woman. I allow myself to go to the deepest, darkest textures and sensational experience of this heartbreak and grief and loss. And a lot of people don't understand that because a lot of us are walking around in a society kind of a bit shut down and numb and afraid to allow ourselves to go all the way to it in case of like fear of death or fear of not belonging or numbness, and sensational shutdown. So it is an art form I have cultivated. And I know not a lot of people can understand that I can still be empowered and still be completely falling apart. Like it's kind of paradoxical, right? And so that is one of the reasons why I feel I have to go and tend to my own wounds because I feel like we need to come from a place of still empowering the person and allowing them to have their experience without having to shift or change or contort it. And, I have this real deep sort of symbolism in my mind of like those moments in time where I see like way back in the day, like when we were I always go back to tribals, the tribal communal sort of experience where we would be in smaller, tight-knit communities within tribes and amongst people that were like family survival bonding, right? And I think about, somebody losing a child for whatever reason amongst that tribe. Like the tribe would come together and grieve as a community, like as a unit, right? Like grieve together and not have it as like this disempowering. It's like you grieve, I grieve, I'm here for you, but not having to contort or change the emotions and the sensations and the energetics riding and through them. And if you start to understand the deep importance of that on a very primal way of how empowering and beautiful that is to share your bleeding heart and be held in community and them to hold that as well and move through it. Like there is no other better way to move through these big pockets of grief and loss. But as society has seemed, we have gotten very ostracized and disconnected from this communal way of being. And we have this sort of nuclear family unit in one home where you are completely alone and you are kind of cut off from community and society and have to, or supposedly have to deal with everything yourself, that we've become so far disconnected from what that is and what that feels like and the texture within that. And really understanding that our nervous systems sort of co-regulate like that. So that's the perfect time together to come together. That is, our wombs talk to each other. Like this is how we move through and transmute things as a community, as the we instead of the I. Where in this day and age and how we live, we are forced into our confined spaces and then we can force ourselves into a tighter, like confined space within our body. And then that becomes like this big black goo of shame, right? Because we feel so alone. We feel alone in our grief. We feel the loss and the heartbreak to a level of extreme where we cannot co-regulate in that, and not move through it powerfully and beautifully and connected. And, shame breeds with isolation, right? Like it actually breeds and seeps into our cells through isolation. And a lot of the women and people I work with absolutely have these gigantic needs for a community and being seen and witnessed and held and heard. Heard is a huge one. I work with a lot of women who have experienced domestic violence, sexual traumas, medical abuse, miscarriages, abortions, violations on their body, like all of these really heavy, big things. And we are told and sold this lie that we have to keep our mouths shut, keep ourselves silent, keep ourselves locked away. And then all that does is perpetrate this contorted view of ourselves and this icky sense of shame within our being, which furthermore causes more damage, more disease, more shutdown, more contortion, more constriction, more cellular disharmony within our bodies than what it is to actually show up, be liberated, be empowered, and speak the truth and share with our community and be held in that. As soon as you give something a voice or an energetic movement, you will be surprised how profound it is on somebody's body and being. Like just that alone, giving them a space to actually be like, I see you, I hear you in the depth of this, I believe you. And that in alone is enough sometimes to just shift that internalized shame and pain and free it and liberate it within the body. And I feel like this is really important when we're delving into this, especially as women, because we carry this in ourselves, right? And we hand this down to the next generation through in utero, through our worm circuits. They literally get past all of this information and DNA. And I find this to be such a passion of mine, because if we were to really know that and understand that, that we would understand that the cycle of abuse and the cycle of pain and grief, if it is not liberated from our being and from ourselves, it is passed down through to our children and so forth. So they will then deal with the feelings of abuse or rape or violations or everything in their body, and they will have this contorted view of themselves, right? Like this sense of like not belonging or ickiness in their body, or this feeling of unsafety within their being, with which makes them not show up fully inhabited in their body, right? And so then they will live their lives not understanding that they've actually been handed the torch and the flame through their lineage of all of this, right? And I feel like it's our duty, it is our job to stop the shit and basically start healing out loud. Tell people what you're going through, and not in a victimized way of I'm the victim, poor me. It's just like being so raw and authentic and real and showing up and being like, yeah, my cat died. Yeah, my world is falling apart. Yeah, I'm okay. I am completely like sovereign, self-assured. I can hold myself. I've got the tools and the equipment. Like I'm not disempowered in this. Like this is a powerful portal of transmutation within me at this point in time. But can you see my aching heart? Can you be with me in that? And so, whew, I have another story about this, because a couple of weeks ago, I had a dear friend who was actually going through a very hard time. And I won't go super into details, but let's just say they were having an extremely hard time. They needed somebody to come and watch with them and be with them. And they were in the pit of, that really overwhelming, like everything's falling down. My life is sort of falling apart. I don't know what's happened. I've kind of flipped a switch and kind of become erratic, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do, which is really heavy, right? Like it's a really heavy experience. But they were sitting alone at home, and obviously they needed just somebody to come be there with them and just be with them. And so I was going through my own experience. I was like, look, I'm kind of in my muck at the moment too, but I can absolutely pull myself together, regulate myself, and come and be in the muck with you, like be in the mess with you. That's so fine. And so I show up to her house, and we had a beautiful day together, just sitting in it, right? Like it wasn't this happy-go-lucky, like we're partying or having fun or anything like that. Like it was a solemn vibe, right? And my friend was sitting there, and she was in tears and sharing some things with me, and my heart really aches just really sharing the story again, because it just makes me realize how often we heal in silence, and how often we are alone with our own stuff without anybody else to reach out to. And it makes me so emotional, because she turned around to me and she was apologizing to me. Sorry, I'm not fun to be around. Like, sorry, this is a shit catch up. Like, sorry, I'm not like this or I'm not like that. And I was like, holy fuck. Like, no, for starters, do not apologize. I am here with you in this. And you don't have to hide this part of you. This is perfectly okay. Like this can be celebrated too. You can sit here and be a complete mess and a meltdown and crying. And I don't want to fix you. I don't want to save you. I don't want to help you. I want you to be okay and accept yourself in this, because I'm accepting this. What doesn't make this a divine experience of being a fucking human? Like, why do we only show up in laughter and joy and celebration with our friends? Why do we not have these moments of that are just as powerful, transformational, and just such portals of reclamation of our human body and spirit. Like, why are they not celebrated also? Like, why are they not divine? Why are they deemed as tainted or wrong or bad? Like, this is okay too. Like, this is perfect. And like, that just really made me super passionate to come and share this message with you this week because just sitting in that moment and realizing like this is what I do too. And this is what a lot of people do is they go and lick their wounds and heal in silence, sometimes not even healing at all, just being in silence till they start to feel better or okay again and can start being amongst the living, so to speak. And it is so fucked up. Like, I want grief circles. I want grief ceremonies. I want to sit with you in the depth of the darkness and the despair and know that it's okay, that you are okay and you are going to get out of this. There's nothing we have to do except be here, be in presence, be in complete devotional energy of this incredible moment of energy moving through you, these extreme emotions, and letting them be, giving them space to breathe, giving them like, fire and flames and reverence and awe just as much as we give these other emotions, because these are powerful. Like, these are just as much needed and part of the human experience. And I'm sure that you have friends that you would be safe in doing that with, and people that you would feel safe in doing that with, and others that you are not so safe with doing that with, right? Because they wouldn't know what to do with the enormity of the emotions and the sensations and the power of them, right? And I think the greatest gift that we need to do, like, that was an actual gift for me. It was like, wow, you trust me and honor me so much to allow me into this space to just sit there and be with you and kind of like hold you through this emotion. Like, we've held hands in bed and went to sleep together, and it was just a really beautiful experience. But I was like, wow, like, this is a gift to me. This is a gift to me, that my emotions and my sensations and my hurt is just as worthy and deserving of being honored. Like, this gives me a permission to show up in this. And not only that, like, you're giving me the gift of seeing your true heart and your whole humanness. I am like a fuck yes to this. Like, that is potent and powerful. And each and every woman I speak with and hold, and through these big things like, abortions and miscarriages and, loss of children and sexual abuse or violence, it's just like the common theme is they're suffocating it within themselves. And then that's where shame breeds and lives. And so it becomes like an issue because they're not healing out loud. Like, why do we have to hide these aspects? I have a beautiful friend that's currently going through, cancer at the moment, or had cancer and is going through chemo. And it's the same thing. It's like, we as a society don't know how to hold people and be with people in the depths of this, like, more ickier, darker textures of emotional and sensational experience, because we have deemed it so, because we are not the ones speaking up about our healings, because we have gone away and hidden these things in secret and keep it within us. And it's like, then we're just doomed to keep repeating this whole paradigm that we're seeing, that it's not okay, that bad things don't happen, that we have to be alone in our despair and our loss. And, I really, really am passionate about wanting to change this. Like, I think so much breathes within that shame within the body. It becomes like an airtight, like, constricted vault within our body, and then when we're holding on to that sort of airtight, constricted vault of like shame, or this deep, dark secret within us that, we can't talk about in society because it's so taboo, and so many people experience the same thing, which is what, that is like the ultimate underlying essence of all this, is to completely liberate something in our being, in our body. It has to be transversed and moved energetically out our body through our mouths and obviously liberated within the collective. But that can only start with you. So, my biggest takeaway this couple of weeks, and the thing is that I have learned so much, is it is time to start healing out loud. It is time to encourage the other people, the women in your lives, to heal out loud, that they are safe in expressing what they are moving through and really flipping the powers of victimhood. So not showing up in a way that is like, I am a victim, poor me, and teaching people how to do that. Like teaching people to sit in that with you and show them how it's done by way of being in your own embodiment, right? So me showing up, expressing that with my friends, saying that, you are safe to express this. This is wonderful. I welcome it. Like celebrating her and kind of her grief and her enormous waves of emotional depth that she was moving through gives me permission to do that, right? And like that is how spaces should be held for each other collectively. Like, I will sit here with you holding your hand, absolutely, and I will be in this with you and really like, but I will not take it from you. I will not take your experience from you and disempower you and try and feel like I have to save you or fix you. Like, you are okay. You are sovereign. You can do this energetically. I know you've got this. And this is the flipping of the switch of, coming from a disempowered to a powered space. It's like, I can be in this with you. I can hold you in this. I can see you in this. You are marvelous. You are delicious. You are incredible. And also, I know that you've got this. And also, what do you need from me right now? And also, how can I support you? Not putting your narratives and your perspectives and that layer and lens on their experience, just being in the body, being in your own body, feeling your presence there, feeling if you're starting to get pulled into the energetic thread of, chaos or turmoil or whatever somebody else is going through, heavy grief, because you don't want to be tugged at like that. You want to be in your body. You want to have incredible like nervous system regulation and be finely attuned to your own nervous system to know what is yours and what is theirs and how you can sort of regulate in a space together, but not take it on as well, right? Like this is still something that I'm learning as we speak because I am quite spongy. Even though I go into like, I know my body, I know my somatic experience, but I regulate and I protect and I do all these wonderful things and ground and whatnot, but it's still, I'm a very spongy person. I'm a very energetically spongy person. So I'm still learning also how to understand that afterwards, like I can sometimes transmute things through my body that are not actually necessarily mine. But everybody's different. Everybody's different and how they experience their body and their nervous system is completely different. But I think it is about time we start ripping off those shackles and taking off those, the silence mask that we have been indoctrinated in, thinking we have to sit down, shut up, be quiet, not speak on it because it makes people uncomfortable or it's a bit too edgy. I think it's time we start talking about it and actually liberating it, right? Like not being ashamed of these massive things that so many people are actually transversing. And being the embodiment of that we wish to see in the world. I say this all the time. And this is, a big message to myself included because, something really shifted within me over the last few months. Some big learnings for me actually about how often I do sort of kind of hide away or can kind of like compartmentalize myself and only see, like, let people hold me and see me if I'm this big, strong, woman. And the problem is I'm a soft little marshmallow inside and I go through big mountains and depths of despair and heartache and grief. And I am still absolutely strong in that. And I am still beautiful in my vulnerability and my sensitivity. And I'm still empowered in, I'm not coming from a place of like, I'm disempowered, like help me and save me. It's like, no, I just need your support right now. So for me, myself, I am going to show up a lot more in healing out loud. I think that it is transformational to be able to heal out loud and to let others see you and witness you, feel that acceptance and belonging. and these more darker traverse energetics that people are so scared of, such as death and grief and loss. I will be talking a little bit more about this in a couple episodes, talking about like dancing with grief. But for now, I just believe that when we silence ourselves, when we keep it shut, we lock it down in our bodies, it creates disease and shame and numbness within our body, and then it doesn't allow it to be transmuted. This is plain as simple as that. We are all humans. I don't give a shit how perfect you are or how incredible you show up online. You are still traversing relationships and people and dynamics and loss and losing pets and losing loved ones. And that's okay. Like that is more than okay. It's like, yes, give me that humanness. Give me that delicious humility and authentic realness. That is what the world needs. That is what the world is craving. And this is just a call out to say, yeah, like heal out loud, say your story, and do it for the countless other women who have been silenced. Do it for the countless other people who have orders on them that they're not allowed to speak, that have had severe injustices against them, and they're not able to really tell their story because your story is powerful. Don't let it control you or define you, but there is power in owning your story and speaking it out and giving it a space to live that's not locked down tight within your body, right? Because that is when we start to see these ailments that we could be preventing. And if you follow me on social media, I just spoke about this delicious like heart womb connection and how the womb is magnetic in nature, and it has this delicious connection with the blood within the body, and it will actually seep in heartache and grief and loss from your heart so that you don't get a heart attack. Like it's absolutely incredible. So when you think about that, and then you think about the immense rise we are seeing now in PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, cysts, polyps, infertility, like painful menstruations, prolapse, you name it, we are seeing it. And if you start to really understand the energetics of the body, like we as women really hold on to a lot of stuff down there: grief, loss, heartbreak, pain, not belonging, being silenced. Like it's not just we're being silenced, it's affecting our throats and how we speak, it's affecting our reproductive organs, our beautiful sacred area of the pelvis and the sacrum and the uterus and the fallopian tubes and the ovaries. And this is why, like, this is absolutely creating like a vortex down there that is sucking all this into your body because you're suffocating it down into your body and you're not liberating and healing out loud, which is what we want. Let us hold you. Let us see you. Let us see your vulnerability, your softness, your openness, your rawness. Let us see with your open heart bursting out, dripping into your hands and being like, here it is, and being like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. We love you for this. Like, let's collectively hold this heart together and then bring it back in a more profound, open, soft way instead of hardening it and closing it down because you are locked away inside yourself, having to shut up and not speak on these things that need to be spoken about. Whew. I hope that was a really yummy and delicious dive into actually how we can alchemize these really big things and these really profound, beautiful things like grief and loss and heartbreak and trauma and pain, and how the art of actually just healing out loud, saying the truth, can actually be such a powerful way to liberate your body and your sensations and your numbness and your experience internally, and to not pass it down to our next generation. It's really, really important to me, the legacy we leave behind and what we're passing on to our daughters and sons and children. And yeah, because I really have such a passion and fire for eradicating these things within our system that is obviously failing us. Like eradicating the abuse lineages, eradicating these violation lineages. And that can only happen when we say it stops with us. This is why, speaking on it, healing out loud, letting our community come together to hold us and to basically like weave us back to life. You know, we need that, especially as women. We're such communal creatures. I mean, we're all communal creatures, but women heal by talking. Women heal by coming together and talking. Like that is how we move stuff out. And one of the things I've seen this past week that I find super interesting too is that mouth contraption that we used to see back in like the witch days that used to be on women's mouths and like so we couldn't speak. You know, that sort of wounding around the jaw and the mouth has been very prevalent actually. And so I say speak. Heal out loud. Heal out loud. Tell us what you're going through and allow yourself to do it for, yeah, the women that are no longer with us, the people that have, you know, not been able to or tried to speak up and had that squash because we are in new times and new liberated, open times where we're not in those same times where we will get persecuted and shut down and judged. We are at a time where we can own our own power and speak up and move through this quite quickly. So that is all from me today. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. I enjoy coming on and just speaking and healing out loud and saying all the things. I have such a good time creating this. As always, let me know what you think. Let me know if this inspired you, if this touched you. Reach out, write a comment. I'd love your ratings and shares. And also, I'm very open to connecting via any means. You can find me on Instagram at Sheeana Leigh or Facebook. And yeah, on my website, www.sheeanaleigh.com. But, you know, I'm always up for deeper connections and deeper shares around this and how it's touched you. And also, yeah, your experience to deepen the community and heal out loud together as we traverse these very different times together. See you next time.